good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Safdar Bhatti for providing me with this platform to present. My name is Shajia Sayed, and the topic of my presentation is Enhancement of Vocabulary through Language Games at Elementary Level. This is the abstract and an overview of my presentation. If we talk about language, language is a priceless gift of God to human beings. Without it, human beings would have remained only a dumb animal. It exists everywhere, in our dreams and thoughts, relations and communications, prayers and mediations, and customs and rituals. Language is the best means to know the past, understand the present, and peep into the future. Language ties society through verbal and non-verbal forms. According to Sapir, language is chiefly human and non-instinctive way of exchanging ideas, desires, and emotions by way of system of voluntary produced symbols. Languages are composed of various elements. English language is comprised of elements like sound, system phonology, the structural or grammatical elements, and lexical element or vocabulary. If we talk more about vocabulary, it is the soul and essence of a language. Stock of words is also something that we use to call vocabulary. It is used in language. Words are instruments and tools of thoughts. The vocabulary is also known as the backbone of any language, a series of words in foreign language to express meaning. If we talk about some sources of vocabulary, they are list, course books, vocabulary books, the teacher or other students. Importance of language games. If we talk about importance of language games, they are marked to provide guidance and stimulation for students to think or to do something. The purpose of this media is to train the right brain's ability to be able to remember the pictures and words so that vocabulary can be possessed from an early age. Language learning games are not only a medium, but they can be played as well. It can make students feel happy, not bored, raise motivation and stimulation of learning activities, and even carry psychological effects on students in learning English language. The importance of vocabulary and language games is that vocabulary is central to English language teaching because without sufficient vocabulary, students cannot understand others. We cannot convey a single idea without vocabulary. The importance of vocabulary can also be shown with the help of this quote, as the British linguist David A. Wilkins puts it, "Without grammar, very little can be conveyed. Without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed." Vocabulary, the significance of my study is that it is helpful for students, it is helpful for teachers, and it will help both these parties to improve vocabulary skills. The objectives of my research were to highlight the utility of language games at elementary level, to identify the students' problems in learning vocabulary, to persuade the teachers to use games for teaching vocabulary skills, and to expand the understanding of language games. The research questions that were conducted in my study were: how does the use of language games improve learners' understanding towards English vocabulary at elementary level? How is the use of games implemented in classroom to improve learners' memory to recall the newly learnt vocabulary? What are the supports and barriers of using games to improve learners' understanding towards English vocabulary, and how language games are helpful to provide vocabulary in different ways? The hypothesis of my research was that vocabulary of the elementary level students can be improved through games for learning English as a subject. There is no difference between scores of control group and experimental group in pre-test. There is difference between scores of control and experimental groups in post-test. Moving on to the literature review of my study. If language structures make up the skeleton of language, then it is vocabulary that provides the vital organs and flesh. Lexis is the core or heart of language. The acquisition of sufficient vocabulary is crucial for a successful second language use. Language games are the greatest way to improve learners' vocabulary and the ability to recognize individual words to associate the other words. For the research, to carry out the research, the participants that we used were 50 students and 15 teachers. The research methodology that we used was experimental. The research approach that was conducted was quantitative, and we used stratified random sampling to carry out the research. The research tool used were questionnaires for teachers and pre-test and post-test for students. The data analysis of pre-test and post-test is in front of you. I would now move to conclude my presentation, give appropriate suggestions and recommendations. A true English language teaching must be carried out through games to help the learners. Government should formulate proper education policy for introducing proper language and teaching in the country. Teachers should present their lessons in an enjoyable and relaxed and interesting way. It is necessary to introduce proper language games to make language learning meaningful and effective. Students should be encouraged and motivated to learn new vocabulary attentively and share it with their fellows. Games promote acquisition of vocabulary skillfully. Teachers should incorporate language games into activities, divide students into groups, instruct each group to use new words on the cards to perform different activities. This is the questionnaire that we used to carry out the research that we provided the teachers to fill out. These are some references that I used in my study. Thank you all for your patience. Any questions are welcome.